Hey everyone, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It's Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. And we're here to talk about, you guessed it right, Eurovision. This is Mattitude, the ESC United live stream. And we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. I briefly spoke with you all last night after the show, but there was very little time and very little space for me because I was sitting somewhere in the corner hiding so I could actually do a live stream outside of the press center. And that is basically what I did. But now I'm here at the airport. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So I got time. We got to talk this through. This is madness, y'all. Absolute madness. I wasn't expecting that, but here we are. So we're going to talk this through. We're going to talk about the winner. We're going to talk about the semifinals. We're going to talk all that stuff that's happened over the last 24 hours or so, digest it together, and then all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. How does that sound? So, but yeah, I understand emotions are still high for some, and euphoria, no pun intended, for others, super high as well. So, we all know that Sweden won the Eurovision Song Contest 2023 last night with Loreen's Tattoo. She came first with the juries and second with the televoters, while Karja, Finland, came first with the televoters and fourth with the juries. But ultimately, once you combine the results, it was Lorraine that was victorious. Therefore, we now have Sweden's seventh win. They're now tying Ireland with the most wins at the contest. So clearly, a lot of people will be going back to Sweden next year for the contest. So I am here to talk this through with you all and get it off our chest while being polite, respectful. I've been tweeting a lot because I was stuck on a bus for 4.5 hours from Liverpool to London. So I saw a lot, I heard a lot, I got attacked a lot. My favorite part where I was attacked was because I was talking about, I think it is just wonderful that Lorraine can win the contest because women over 35 hardly ever win the contest, right? She's the second oldest female artist to win the contest after Linda Martin. And I think it is just a place to celebrate that there is a place for everyone, because women in particular, once they reach a certain age, they're too old, right? And I'm being like over the top by it because we know how reality works. So it's just wonderful to see that at Eurovision that is not the case. Of course, some Lorraine stands took it as I am making fun of her age, which could not be the opposite. I've been pushing so hard for having more diversity in age groups. That is what I'm missing at Eurovision. But people are just so sensitive right now. So, anyways, it was just an interesting observation that you can't say anything. Tip, tap, tap. Anyways, so before I'm going to answer your questions as well in the chat at ESC United as soon as I can. Let me take a look because I didn't have that much time to do much research last night because again I was in the press center and then I had to jump on a train at 10 in the morning to London. But I think in case we are not sure, I want to take a look at the results with you together. So I'm going to go to Eurovision World here real quick and see the ranking, and then we'll talk this through. So as you can see, Sweden won. I'm trying to remember the entire ranking as well. Finland came second. As we already know, they have about 60 point difference there, a little less than 60. And but there was a huge discrepancy in the jury and televote, as you can see. How Finland got so many more public votes, while Sweden got so many more jury votes. And Israel, third place overall. I think she was in the top 5 with both groups. Italy, pleasantly surprised, got almost the identical amount of points. Coming in fourth, and Norway's rescued. Once again, Norway rescued by the televoters, coming fifth. Ukraine in sixth place. Not too much of a surprise, big public push still. Belgium, it's in seventh place. And Estonia, 8. Australia, 9. Czechia, 10. So there's some pleasant surprises in there in terms of countries making it in there because you just didn't know. Czechia makes me very happy because I think they had a great song, but I knew it could be an uphill battle. Thankfully, the juries saved them and put them in a really good position. So that makes me very happy. Let's take a look outside of the top 10. Lithuania, 11th place, a pleasant surprise there as well. Once again, a little bit more push on this one from the juries, actually. Cyprus 12th, left side scoreboard, also for Croatia 13th place. Same thing here, but that does not come as a surprise. They are actually ending up on the with the televoters support higher up. Then Armenia actually on the right side of the scoreboard. I thought they're going to get a little bit more. Austria, also the jury's much more favorable, but again, we'll talk a little bit later about the running order. France, give us the middle finger. Zarra, she came 16th overall. Then Spain 17th. You know, that was of course the big surprise coming last in the televote. And then Moldova in there, Poland, and then Switzerland in 20th place. Look at the bottom here. Slovenia, Albania, Portugal. Yeah, Serbia, big surprise for me here, and United Kingdom. And then Germany, who would have thought last place here overall. But at least I got 18 points. That's already an improvement, right? Isn't that they tripled their points? Let's look at it from the bright side. So there's of course a lot to unpack, but before we do that, let's just once again remind ourselves because of the televote. Finland, as you can see, 376 points, Sweden 243, and Norway 216. The only three countries that made it past the 200-point mark. And then Ukraine in fourth place, not too much surprise yet. And yeah, Israel actually fifth place, 185. Italy, once again, always doing so well. Again, televote 174. That was such an emotional performance as well. Croatia comes in seventh place. Poland 8. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of thoughts and complaints about that. And Moldova 9, and which is nice. I didn't realize that Moldova came in ninth place. Whoa. See, I didn't look at the ranking yet for the televote, so I didn't think that Moldova would be in the top 10. But once again, Moldova doing really well with the public and buried by the juries. And then Albania, 10th place, another big surprise. Granted, if you look at the points received, it's pretty low, 59, because the points were just all the way at the top with the same countries. And a pleasant surprise for Cyprus in the 11th place, then, right? Belgium, Armenia, France. You see all the other countries, So Czechia, not quite as well. Sadly, Austria kind of flopping there. Portugal was kind of expecting. But Serbia, that one was the biggest surprise to me, only getting 16 points from the televote. Germany, at least not last in the televote. I mean, last overall, at least. Then United Kingdom, second to last. And then Spain. Look, once again, three of the big five at the bottom, even though we felt as this could be a good year for them to escape the bottom. But that did not happen. It just comes down to they don't have to be tested. They can just go straight to the finals. If they had a semi, that we wouldn't probably have that situation. But granted, they wouldn't even be in the finals to begin with. And other than that, we already saw the jury vote yesterday and the scoreboard and all that stuff. So I kind of know, just to remind, Sweden, Israel second. But as you can see, almost where am I? I'm looking at the public voting here. Excuse me. Okay, so let me fix that here. There you go. Okay, sorry, I got mixed up between public and jury. In the jury voting, Israel got almost only half of the points. Like Sweden's double. They double the points, and you're basically at Sweden's score here. For Israel, such a huge gap. And then Italy just 1 point behind in third place, and then Finland 150 in fourth. And then Estonia. That's a big surprise coming fifth, right? Actually, not that big of a surprise. I did say there will be a country that they will go behind, support that we may not think they would go for. Australia, sixth place. Australia oftentimes doing really well with the juries this year as well. Belgium, 7. Austria, 8. And Spain in ninth place. Czechia, 10th. And that is really what saved them. The disagreement there, right? Yeah, Lithuania. So that's how you see the rest here. Ukraine got a lower score, and Germany dead last with the jury's 3 points. All right, let's talk this through here real quick. Just the final results. I would love to hear thoughts as well at ESC United in the chat. Let me know your thoughts, of course. And while you're thinking, let me also just say that I am always happy, and whoever wins wins. And I'm happy for Sweden, even though I've been there multiple times, So I don't know what's going to happen next year with me, but I'm happy, and they won. Sweden came first with the juries. We know that it happens quite a bit, but they also came second with the televoters. That's a great score. Keep in mind, ever since we had that new voting system starting in 2016, where both juries and televoters actually give points, the top two of the televoters always won. So one of those two will win. In 2016, Jamala came second. She won. 2017, Portugal, was number one. And then Netta won. Duncan Lawrence came second with the televoters. And then, it's like Måneskin came first. College Orchestra came first, and now Loreen came second. So it's always one of the top two that ends up winning. That is pretty good. The juries can say the same thing. Måneskin, College Orchestra, they both came only fourth, and there's some other exception there as well. So I think it is still a fantastic win, and she was the second most popular song, even with the televotes. And I understand there is a little bit more of that upsetness that is happening, and I can relate to it to a certain extent, because it feels like, wow, it's not like just it was a close race between those two, but Finland just smoked the competition in the televote. He was so far ahead. He has the highest score, televote score ever, if you exclude Ukraine from the equation last year, because it was a very unique circumstances, right? So it's a different situation. I understand people say, there is Lorraine, she didn't get any 12 pointers and all that stuff. That is may well be. We all agree that Finland was the clear televote winner, but Sweden was the clear second place televoters as well, because she was also quite far ahead from the rest of the pack and got plenty of 10 and 8s and all that stuff. But I understand why people are upset. I get that, because it was such a smashing victory, and you heard the crowd screaming there, cha cha cha, which was very uncomfortable and awkward for me. If you watch my reaction video, I did not like that at all. But people were just very passionate about it, and that's why people are so upset. I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, there is a reason why we have the juries, and why I don't agree with the jury's decision either, per se. At least, let me just say, it's not even about Sweden. Let's put Sweden aside. There are certain things that I don't necessarily, I think there needs to be some fixing of the juries, but I do approve of the concept that are juries. Now, tweaking may be needed, but the rules are the rules. And any artist that signs up for this, they know what they're getting themselves into. And it is very easy not to be upset about the rules. And I find it funny, there are some individuals that were so upset, saying the juries need to be disbanded because some of oh no, juries need to be brought back because their favorites didn't qualify in the semis. But now they're upset, juries should be deleted because they killed Finland's chances. So it's always seems very convenient, the outrage. Do you know what I mean? So let's take a step back. Both Karja and Loreen really supported one another, and we should do that the same. You may not agree with the results, and that is fine. I understand that. And if you think that the current system is not fair, speak out in a professional and constructive manner, because that's what I'm doing, actually. And I will do that over the next few weeks and months to come. And fix some of the issues that we perceive as unfair, because I have some solutions. You may not all like them, but I want to start somewhere. At the same time, Lorraine won, and I applaud her. I'm very happy for her. And well, she was not my number one either, but she had a great song, and she is fantastic. She's just such a wonderful, lovely woman. And I said earlier, don't hate the player, hate the game. Lorraine did what she had to win. She performed well. She has this charisma, and she knew what the juries were looking for. And Sweden is always really good at that, and she delivered accordingly. And Kari did the similar thing, but with the televoters. But ultimately, when the chips fell down, Lorraine just had more points. And yes, I know that we all wanted, oh, not we all, that's not a fair thing to say. A lot of you wanted Finland but it doesn't always pan out that way. But I understand where you're coming from. We just need to be more productive and constructive about how we talk about this. And since we don't like it, what can be done if you feel this cannot happen or should not happen again? Or maybe you're completely fine with this and this is exactly how it's supposed to go. Anyways, Danielis, thank you so much for the super chat. When a country loved by the juries who sent a previous winner wins over a guy who ties for the second highest televotes in the competition, it just feels wrong. Yes, I do understand that it feels wrong. And feelings are, we have them for a reason and they're legit. At the same time, even though it feels wrong, we do have the juries for a reason. And I was around during the era when they did not have juries and was 100% televote, and the quality of the contest suffered significantly. And I think they bring a lot of value to it. I do believe we can talk about that a little bit more. I do believe there maybe needs to be some adjusting of the juries with the way it's going right now. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. And but I hear you saying it feels wrong because I even felt like, come on, that was such a landslide win, and he still doesn't get the crown. And people get these flashbacks from 2015 where the almost the exact same thing happened with Il Volo, right? And like Sweden again. I get it. I get all of that. It feels wrong, but is it wrong though? That's the point I'm trying to make. It's probably not. But it is very, very. I understand where both sides are coming from. It's just the toxicity that people are throwing around. I would say if you're that angry, just log out for the day. Come back tomorrow because it's just better for you. It's just better for you. But let me see some other comments in here. I know there was a long answer, but let me see. Jury seemed to behave this year. Greece not giving Cyprus 12. Finland and Sweden gave each other 12 despite being favorites. I reckon they have been given a harder line by the EBU. It's funny because I said something similar yesterday. It seems as after this whole scandal from last year, it seems as maybe the EBU put their foot down and said, hey, this can no longer happen. We're watching you. Because in the past, they let this whole thing about Greece and Cyprus slip, and even the Azerbaijan and Armenia thing, we didn't have anything to use because Azerbaijan was in the finals. So it seems that way. However, one thing I did notice, because Norway got hardly any points this year, except a few points here and there, but the vast majority came from their friends Sweden and Denmark. Denmark and Sweden, I think both of them put Norway in second place when no other country did. That seemed a little sus to me. So out of all the countries, the juries that I've seen, the Nordic were actually the most friendly ones, which we've known, but it is surprising to me that they even vote with one another. With Sweden and Finland, you have a really good case because they're all very popular. But considering that nobody else put Norway up there except them, seemed a little interesting to me. But hey, overall, I do agree with that sentiment. The Azeri jurors didn't rank Armenia all dead last. Well, we don't have any juror. Oh, I didn't even look at that yet in the fact. Yeah, they didn't all rank them dead last. That is good, but combined, where does Armenia end up? That is the question, right? I didn't even look at the actual Azerbaijani votes yet, but we can take a look at that as well. There's also cultural voting, which you can't really get rid of. Different countries have different tastes. That is absolutely right. Music that we in, let's say, the Benelux countries really like may not work in the Balkan world, vice versa, used in some other places. So I totally, yeah, that is absolutely true. Let's be serious. The only reason Greece only gave 4 points to Cyprus is because they didn't expect anything back since they were not. Well, do you though? Because if that's the case, Cyprus may hold a grudge and will not give them any points next year, assuming Greece was going to qualify. So I don't know if there was truly, I think really there was more behind it. And keep in mind, I said that before, when this new system was introduced back in 2014, for the first few years, Cyprus and Greece didn't give each other 12 points by default. They actually put each other lower. But then I forgot what year, like 2018 or whatever it was, they started doing that again. And then it just gave Vyacheslav 12 points, and the EBU let it slide. And maybe they just had to do another reset because of all that happened last year. So that is just very interesting. Um, Let me also, while I want to look at the semifinals with you real quick. We're not going to spend too much time because you all have looked at it already. But I just want to refresh my memory as well here because, it's been a crazy 24 hours for me here. Can't believe like 24 hours ago, I was still getting ready for the show. Oh, no, the show just started. That's right. All right, let me bring this up here. So in the semi, it won. Finland, as expected, it's only televote, as we all know, came first with 177, Sweden 135, Israel 1. So that all looks about right. Czechia did really well, Moldova. Interestingly enough, Norway came only sixth in the televote here in the semis, but then jumped to third place in the actual final. Goes back to what I will maybe address later. Again, the ranking order and how much of an impact it could have actually. Switzerland, seventh place. Croatia, eighth. I was actually thinking Croatia is going to do a little better in the televote. But hey, top 10 is all they needed. And Portugal, nine. And then the biggest surprise to a lot of people, maybe not to me even, is Serbia coming in 10th place. A song that I love just a whole lot. And there was such a big gap between 9th and 10th place as well. Portugal got 74, and then Serbia got 37 and almost lost to Latvia. Good thing that Croatia's in this group. So, but Latvia, so close, but no cigar. Hopefully, that's actually a little bit more encouraging to them for next year. And then anything to 12 to 15, they got virtually nothing. I mean, Ireland 12 with 10, and then Netherlands 7, Azerbaijan 4, and Malta 3. I cannot believe they came dead last. That's one of my favorite songs this year. So that was not cool. One of the things thought it was interesting. Oh, I see a super chat while I'm doing that here. Something about, did I read the right word there? Have a Guinness on me. Sorry about the shock of the camel from the island. Looking forward I thought I read the word camel tone. I'm like, what is going on? Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyways, but here, Australia won semi 2, and one thing was interesting. I don't know how they knew, but the Australian commentators knew before everyone else that Australia won the semi. They announced it on TV, I guess, or right after. I'm like, how did you find out? The website hasn't been updated yet. So I find that a little sus that they get the information before anybody else. Makes me wonder how long they have known. But that's just probably just my conspiracy hat that pops off here. So don't take me too. Thank you so much, Igor, for the super chat. Poor Matt, thank you. The running order heard many good songs. What do you say about Malta and only 3 points from the world? Didn't Malta only get 1 point from the world and then 2 somewhere else? I'm pissed. Like, that song was amazing, but it clearly didn't click. Maybe it was too busy for people. I still listen to that song and will listen to it for a long time. And it's a crime, but every year it happens that one of my favorites flop. Friends was one of my favorites last year, and they came second to last as well in the final. So I'm used to it. Just go through with it. Australia came first, Austria second, Poland third. And that probably a shocker for a lot of people, right? But I knew it was too catchy to be ignored. Lithuania, Slovenia, Armenia, Cyprus, Belgium, Albania, and then Estonia came in 10th. So Estonia made it in just in 10th place, but at least it wasn't like super close in terms of points difference because 11th place, which was Iceland, was 44 points and therefore a 30-point difference. And Georgia, Greece, Denmark got 6 points, and Romania and San Marino both ended up with nada, 0. So 2 0-pointers, but we only have one group of voters, so maybe that's not as big of a surprise. One thing I found interesting here, Australia came first with 149. They got like what did they get in the finals again? Like 21 or something like that? I have to double check that. And then Austria got what, 15, 16? Both of them were passed by most other countries. It seems like it in the running here. So this was the oddest thing ever. The finals versus the semis. Am I right? And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But I thought this was really, really strange how this is all panned out here. What are your thoughts on this? Here we go. If San Marino was in semi 1 instead of Latvia, it would have been a clean qualifier sweep. Wait, if San Marino was in semi 1, oh, you mean Latvia would have been a clear qualifier in semi 2? Yeah, I kind of knew that even before I saw the Well, I assumed at least that before I even saw the semi results. That was certainly a um, a pretty obvious thing for me as well. Hey, Matt, great to see. Great to meet you on the waterfront. Oh, that was you, David, last night. Is that right? I ran into you as I was wrapping up my. I think it was one of my live streams. I forgot which one. Me and my best friend Adam had a great time, but both I got it. Finland just lost out, feeling flat right now. Yeah, I get it. There are a lot of people on my team as well, and friends. I have a lot of. I mean, Finland just has had, of course, more of an organic support here because it was the landslide televote winner. So you should expect more Finland fanatics out there. So you're not alone. So hopefully, I get it. I guess I'm just so used to it that my favorites don't win that I'm almost like immune to it. It was for me more like, oh, this is so because that was probably the least exciting televote segment I have been through since the introduction of the new system because it was so obvious on who was going to win. So it was just not as exciting. So that was more the thing for me, whether it's Sweden or Spain or Germany, whoever would have been in a landslide, lead with the juries, I would have been bored. And I was more like, I want more. I want more excitement. So that was just the boring part for me. But I can also not fault from it. It just that's me being selfish. So that was yeah. So the whole voting, how it happened, especially for semi two, how the televotes landed then and how they landed in the finals, just very, very confusing. Some of it you can, of course, potentially talk about in the running order and all that stuff. But yeah, that is something we're going to talk about. Yeah. So we can, if you have any questions about the whole Finland Sweden thing, again, they've always had that friendly rivalry. Just right now, it feels less friendly, but things will pass and people feel good. And keep remind yourself, this is Finland's second best result ever at the contest, and they have been in the contest for a very, very, very long time. So they should be celebrated. They get the first silver medal ever. They only got that one win in 2006. And besides that, I think sixth place is still their best result. So let's celebrate that as well. I know it doesn't feel like it to some right now, but in the big picture, this is still a fantastic, fantastic outcome. Groupie, hey, thank you so much. Finnish televoting was a joke. 0 to Loreen. Zero. Also, Finland, I said Illinois. It's not Illinois. It's not a state. Israel, too many jury votes, in my opinion. Portugal deserve better. The biggest problem in the running order is the running order, not the juries. Oh, there's so much to unpack in this comment here. Can you just give me a little bit less? um, I will not give 0 to Lorraine. She does not deserve that. And Finland uh, and Israel, too many jury votes, in my opinion. I I don't know. Sometimes I don't quite get the jury thought process, but what I find fascinating how they often seem to be so in line these days with the favorites. I mean, look at how they voted. Italy, Israel, Estonia, they all had just so many favorites in common, even though they don't really talk amongst each other. So it always throws me a little bit. Biggest problem is the running order and not the juries, you're saying. I will talk about that as well. I had a um, lively debate on Twitter earlier that I will definitely rehash here as well. So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think again, everything becomes a little bit more complicated. Um, so what I wanted to then talk about, first of all, we talked briefly about, I didn't know that on the post live stream, the France thing, the middle finger. In case you don't know, so France, Lazara, after she was given the televote score, she was not happy, only receiving, set amount of points. So she did like this, and then she turned her hand around and lifted the middle finger, which I'm not going to do here. And that was obviously rude, and some people were excusing it as well as Lazara, but there's a reason why most people know it was her just being like flippantly and flippant, no pun intended, in that moment, because as soon as the show was over, you knew that the delegation and the head of press were like, you have to address this now. This is going to be an issue. So as soon as the show was over, Sure enough, the French delegation with Zarra walked into the press room and surrounded by all this French media and people listening into her explaining what this was, and it was some sort of cultural thing or whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's known in my culture as well, called FU. And honestly, it was inappropriate. It was rude, right? I totally said, and you shouldn't have done that. That was unprofessional and very diva behavior. At the same time, we're all humans, and I have told someone off randomly when I shouldn't have probably. We all have done it, or flipped someone off, or threw a word out there that we didn't mean to. So I could get past you. I would have said, just, you know what, it was the heat of the moment, and I should have done that. I'm sorry. I have respect for everyone. I was just so disappointed, but something like that, and I would be like, totally fine. I get it. I get it. It makes you almost more human. But this whole excusing thing, it seems like, come on. Come on, just own it and move on. That's what I'm saying here. It's not the end of the world, but I thought it was, you know, a little weird. It's kind of hilarious that some people are saying, I understand that, but simply, I love her even more now. I'm like, do you really want to go down that route? People being rude and unprofessional because, you agree with them. That's just not how you do that, especially not on a show where countries are, it's supposed to be about unity. That was not united by music, which she did. And that is, the issue. So, yeah, it was just something interesting I've noticed, and it was just, that was just made me laugh. But at the same time, it's not that big of a deal to me. It was inappropriate, it was rude and, immature. Um, so yeah, I already talked about the Sweden and Finland stands out there that are just keeping attacking each other out there, and let it go. It's just get rest. I understand Finland fans, you are disappointed, and Sweden fans, you're maybe a little overly dramatic in your celebration because I even got attacked. Someone who was like very supportive of Loreen, and they just come after me, and I'm like, oh my god, let it go, stop it. But hey, just it'll take a few days to calm down. I saw, of course, the video on YouTube on the Eurovision channel of Lorraine's got like twice as many dislikes as likes. And it's just this year had felt really nasty and negative to begin with, even before Eurovision grand final results, like for the entire season. But this is now a new low or high, whatever you call it. And it's just a little like it's not what we like to see in the Eurovision world, right? And it gets just really, really nasty. Can we talk about Gustav going from not standing a chance of winning the national final, getting 3 sets of 12 points and coming seventh? We can talk about it. So Gustav clearly did much better than a lot of people anticipated, myself included. Certainly, I mean, he made it to the finals thanks to the televote, but in the finals, it was mostly the juries that carried it over because I knew if Gustav, kind of like what I would use the same logic with Estonia. Estonia and Belgium, I knew if they survived the semis, they would then do quite well with the juries, and that is exactly what happened. Neither of them did like fantastically great with the televoters in the finals, but still enough to keep them in the top 10. But yeah, that was certainly interesting. I personally, I mentioned about, my thoughts about the song, but my thoughts are not important. The juries put them in the top 10, and that's where he stands. And where was he in the televote in the end? Like 13th places, 14th? I don't remember. But yeah, no, that was we all enjoy a little surprise, pleasant surprise here. Thank you first of all, Flavius. I'm so happy for Marco. He was my favorite and did way better than I was expecting. Also, the first year when my favorites were high in the ranking. So mine is very interesting because mine were either really high or really low. Like, I think the bottom 4 are in my top 10, but then so are the top 2. So it's just a big hot mess this year. But I'm very happy for Marco as well. That was by far his most intense and touching and emotional performance. I mean, he collapsed basically on stage. And even the people sitting next to me who said, I didn't really care for that song, but that was something. And that is exactly what it was. So I'm very happy. And Italy continues their top 6 streak, for another year. Hopefully, that will continue because somehow Italy isn't like really trying per se, right? They just know They just know how to do it, and I find that super, super fascinating. While other countries, Germany, UK, Spain, they're trying, but still haven't quite figured it out as much. So did I miss the super chat? Oh, Daniela's, thank you. Eurovision 23, like emotionally exhausting. I know, isn't it? This was an exhausting experience. I need to sleep after this. I absolutely need to sleep after this. And Kentucky is saying Sweden has a football stadium with a roof that takes 60,000 during a concert. So we might be looking at the biggest venue to ever host a contest. I would be surprised if they were to use that Kentucky. Only because SVT is known for a more economically responsible contest. That's why they were in Malmö with a smaller arena. The Stockholm one wasn't even as big. So I would be shocked if they go that big. I'd love it, but I don't think they will. But if I'm wrong, then by all means. I don't know if they will be able to. That's a lot. I don't know how many people will travel to Sweden because that's probably even more expensive than Liverpool. Mm. So yeah, so that is what happened there. Let's talk about the juries. The juries. I know there's a lot of talk about, and I've always been, and I will continue to be a proponent of the juries. Even, and keep in mind, this year wasn't the first year where they drowned my favorites. They drowned my favorites in 2022, in 21, and in, no, not in 2019 or 18, but for the past 3 years. So this is not new territory for me. So keep that in mind. Oh, Groupie, thank you so much. Next year, Paparizou should represent Greece in her homeland, Sweden, and win again. I don't think it's always easier said than done, that part. Let me put my coffee down. People that said that on Twitter as well. I'm gonna move my foot. I'm getting stuck in my cable. Trying to readjust. The problem is people think just because you are a previous winner, you're going to do really well. And we've seen over and over again, it's not that simple. In 2018, Alexander Rybak came 15th, I think, and he had a smashing victory in 2009. In 2011, Dana International, one of the biggest stars in Eurovision, she didn't even qualify from the semis. And Neve from Ireland in 2010, she came back and just finished in the bottom 5 in the finals, something like that. So just because you're a winner does not guarantee your success. And that just shows there is more to Loreen than just her name. She put my family liked that song. They all kept saying it's not as strong as Euphoria, but they thought it was a really good effort. But then again, they were also not going for Finland, to be fair. So anyways, about the juries. The juries, in my book, need to stay, and I just don't want to go back to the old days where we end up with dusting the turkeys and we are the winners kind of songs. And I'm glad that these days are over, and I do not want to go back. That does not mean that adjustments can't be made. And here's the thing: the juries are giving specific rules and guidelines. And I feel as sticking to these rules and guidelines keeps them almost in a box, right? Meaning they always judge the song based on the similar criteria, therefore, always go for similar songs and not go for other criteria. That's why often these ethnic bops or songs flop badly with them. And then there's such a big disconnect with televoters and the juries. So, once again, not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but you can address certain issues with that. And that is, I think, is something that should be looked at, because now we've had this jury system for quite some time. And if Martin Österdahl wants to leave a mark on the contest, maybe this is something he should reevaluate. And there could be other, and I'm not saying the ones I'm giving you right now are the only options or the way to go, but we could talk about similar what they do in Benidorm Fest, for instance, or in Sanremo, where you have, for instance, 50% televote, and then you have the professional jury as well as a demoscopic jury on top of it. And so that way, just the professional juries don't have such a huge say, and that maybe then balance things out a bit. That's just one suggestion. Another suggestion is maybe not just have music professionals in there and make it more diverse, age, background wise, all that stuff. Increase the number of jurors. There's so many different things that you can do, but I do think that changes need to come to the juries only because using the similar or almost identical guidelines, it will stop the contest from evolving as well. We need to have music and songs that really move the contest forward. And by having these set rules, I do think that this could hinder the contest. And some of the more daring choices and outside of the box don't get the credit that they deserve. And that is nothing about Finland. There are plenty of other songs that you can talk about. We can talk about Moldova last year. Let's talk, or this year even. There's so many songs that would fall into that category. And I've been just witnessing that over the past few years where it almost seems the kind of music is, we know what they going to vote for, and so some countries are better identifying the taste that they're looking for. Sweden comes to mind, and they just take advantage of it. It has such a negative connotation to it, but you know what I mean when I say that. They know how to appeal to the juries, and you cannot blame them for that. I do the same thing, but I think it needs to be made a little bit more, you know, different directions for the juries to focus. Should they even be giving guidelines, or just use their expertise, or just something else? But there needs to be something that needs to be done, in my view. Just because if not, people become more and more sour towards the juries as well. But once again, I do not want to get rid of the juries. I do not want to do that. No, absolutely not. A British, oops, did that not come up? I clicked on the link and now it's gone. A British 2021 juror said on a podcast because they were not debriefed on criteria, so clearly the system isn't working. They just pick vocal gymnastic pop songs lame. Well, they're supposed to. If that's not happening, then whoever is in charge, because they have like a leader, a notary, or someone in public in there with them that's supposed to give them those guidelines. If they were not given that, then either the EBU or the person in charge messed up, or the person wasn't paying attention. But they are being advised to do that, and I do know that other jurors have been giving these guidelines. So that is certainly an issue of consistency here that goes back into this whole, who is overseeing that and how can that process be changed and improved? So yeah, it is certainly a lot more complicated. I'm not in the EBU, and once again, I'm not claiming I have the answer and the fix to that. But the point is, just like with everything else, they're trying to move forward. A lot of things that I do not like. This is the thing. Maybe we should readjust it as well. Maybe 25% jury and 75 televote. Then juries cannot block the votes. But then they became absolute. And why do you have juries? Do you know what I mean? They still then you're not supposed. They not didn't block the vote. They just felt certain songs were better in their view. But if we make them 25, then it's just really then may as well not have them in the first place. And so I hear what you're saying, but then I'd rather fix the juries again than just changing the impact. I'd rather have the 50% televote and then have like the demoscopic or the an expert jury then kind of combined. That would be my personal preference. What sort of an impact do you think a 60 televote 40 jury split would be? Gives the public a bit more control, but not as much as 70. It's a tough question. I would have to look at, would it make a difference let's just use this year as an example. Would have made it a difference? Or in 2015 or in 2016, like where the juries kind of overruled the televotes. How much of an impact, like what point percentage are we looking? Like what would that really look like? I can see maybe a slight difference, but at the same time, I'd rather fix the juries than fix the percentage. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. I feel like the juries help me to make sure sometimes really well written, sung and performed songs do well, even if they're not craze out there, such as Italy. Yeah, although well, this year, yeah, Italy often actually fell short with the juries, interesting enough. But just sometimes certain songs are not like catchy, or they're not necessarily like have an instant hook for people to like appreciate. It takes 2 or 3 listens. Latvia is a great example. I think if they would have had a second chance, it would have been even higher in their score. So there is that factor as well. Exactly. That's why I do want juries. It's just right now. The problem is also the televote. More often than not, they usually rally behind maybe a handful of songs, sometimes even less. So most of the points go for those 2 songs, and then everything behind it, it has like, I mean, even Albania had like what, 55 points or something like that, and came in 10th place. That's not much. So then the juries, who are more level for the most part, although Sweden is a difference this year, it's an exception. They then decide the rest of the order, So and then it feels like they have more power, even though they technically don't. But just the numbers are being thrown at some countries. So it is just a little difficult sometimes. I understand all of that. Thank you, Joxa, for the super chat, by the way. Nothing odd about Austria or Australia flopping in the final. When the fun votes went to Finland, people don't vote for their second or third favorites. Yes and no. It becomes a little bit more complicated than that. I don't think that Austria is... Those are different songs. And then you could apply the same logic to Croatia, or some of the other songs that might have done a little better. So there is something odd about Austria, going from this high to that low, and then being passed by other songs. You could make then the same case for some other pop songs. Why then that vote should have gone all to Lorena, almost at Euphoria. So I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. And we can talk about that as well in a moment. Somebody said we need to change the voting system. I was thinking about that as well. Is there a need to change the voting system? Is the current system, the 12, 10, 8, whatever point system, insufficient in this day and age? Could you imagine them changing that and making it more like a ranking almost? I don't think it's going to happen, but knowing Martin Österdahl, who really wants to leave a mark on the contest, I wouldn't be too surprised, but I don't think anyone wants it because it's just such an epic and historic thing. So I don't know if he'll touch that. But it would be nice, because the problem is with the televote. They mostly rally behind a few songs because you only vote for your favorite, as you were just saying, not necessarily your third or fourth favorite. Maybe a second favorite, if like, that kind of stuff. Like in Junior, how you have to vote for at least 3 songs. I'm not saying you have to implement the same thing for Eurovision, but something down those lines. Would that make sense? I don't know. I'm not in charge. My point is, if you want to fix the juries, great, but you also need to fix the televote at the same time. I really like the idea of a demoscopic and professional jury each being 25% and the televote being 50. I like the idea as well, on paper, right? I understand there are logistics that come into play here that we need to take into account. Who is going to be on the demoscopic jury? Is it like really a group of people from each country, or do you have like one big group, all that stuff? And I understand it's going to be more work, but I do think it would be a great idea. Um, some people saying people hate the demoscopic jury in Sanremo, but I think they add a whole lot. Now in Italy, they have like a third say, while in Benidorm, they're only at 25% say, which I liked a whole lot better. I don't even know how did the demoscopic jury vote in Benidorm this year. Did they vote for Blanca Paloma? Does anybody remember? Let me know. I could look it up, but I'm too lazy. Also, I'm in a very odd position. I'm sitting on my hotel bed, and my legs are to each side of a laptop, so I don't want to knock stuff over. So don't have the most professional setup, but you got to make do. Thank you so much, by the way, for the super chat. No question from Bart Zick. Really, really appreciate it. Hang on one second. Igor Banga, I see your super chat as well. I cannot bring it up right now, but you said, would it be an idea to reduce the criteria for the jury, focusing on what the contest is about, composition and originality, and make the criteria public, help raising the acceptance? Let me read that again. It was a lot of information. So would it be would it be an idea to reduce the criteria for the... Yes, I can, focusing on what the contest is about, composition and originality, and make the criteria public, help raising the acceptance. I mean, the criteria are public on the handbook. You can go to the Eurovision handbook on the website of Eurovision.tv and you can see the criteria. Um, I think they should be simplified. At the same time, we can put all the rules and guidelines out there. In the end, those jurors, they are humans, and you can only control it so much. I don't know how many go by the numbers and do exactly as they're told, or if they're just going to be like, huh, this feels right. So that's kind of how but I don't know. It's like stuff to think about. Again, it's my first live stream really since Eurovision, like the final. I'm like, so much to think about. But I do think it is worth it to really look into that. And this has nothing to do. I know people will maybe take this out of context when they talk to me on social media that this is me just saying that about Sweden. No, not at all. It's just really for me about saving the juries because this, of course, leaves a bitter aftertaste with a lot of people who just really loved Cha Cha Cha, who was just such a huge favorite. I mean, it's ridiculous how big those numbers were. So, in order to save the juries, I do think we need to start reconsidering how they're being put together, how they're supposed to judge the songs, and see if there's another way to come up with something a little bit more representative and not such a big disconnect at times, or you just leave it as it is. But for me, it's also a concern, as I said, I feel as if they have the same criteria, always the kind of music that fits that criteria will do well. And then we don't get the diversity that we need. We don't get to move forward, and this contest gets stuck in a certain place, right? And we want to evolve with the music that's out there in the world right now and make sure there's a broad group of music and genres out there. And those genres will not be penalized because they don't fall into this criteria that was put together for these jurors. So, again, I don't have the answer completely what would be the best way to you right now, but I think it is just something to truly, really evaluate for the future, because I think it will help the juries and the contest reputation as well. Um, the next thing also somebody said don't copy Spain system. It sucks. Chanel was oops a one-time case of Spain. You don't know that yet. We only had 2 rounds. I personally think that would have done way better, Spain with their runner-up. But I think Spain's had a fantastic song that they should be very proud of, just because it didn't do as well as we were hoping. They didn't completely flop. They were in the top 10 with the juries. And Germany would dream of that. Yes, you didn't grab the televoters on this one, unfortunately. But you tried. You absolutely tried. You put a risk. Sometimes you take a risk, and sometimes it does not pay off. But you still got a respectable result overall, even if it doesn't feel that way, because you think about how well you did in 2022, and you cannot always just immediately recreate that. Thank you so much, Tom, for the super chat. Keep up the 12, 10, 8 for juries and 25, 22, 18 for the 2-1 for the public. Increase the weight of the televote, spread the points down the board, and keep the historic 12 points. Yeah, I mean, when I said that, it's really just kind of more like a thought process right now. I don't even like that idea anyways. So I'm not actually really advocating for changing the point system. It's just epic. It's part of the contest and would be not right to change that after now, especially now that we've had it for 50 years almost. So yeah, it's no. I was just kind of throwing stuff out there, but I'm like, I don't really mean it. But there must be another way. I said how people vote, maybe rather than just voting for your favorite. Could we do something like Junior, where you have to vote for 3 songs? I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Again, I don't want to go to Melody Festival and create an app only kind of voting. That doesn't seem right either. So just kind of what I'm trying to do is brainstorm. And that's what the EBU needs to do. Brainstorm, put stuff out there, and then talk logistics and what can or cannot be done. And if they want to get some input, call me. So, what do you think about the number of 26 acts in the grand final? Could a smaller list of finalists lead to a better point distribution and a higher chance of getting points as finalists? I mean, it would certainly increase your chance of getting points as a finalist. Less competition increases your odds for sure. Do I want the numbers lower? No. I mean, 25 can happen, 25 or 26. But the reason why is because you want to have as many countries as possible in the finals, because if you don't, let's say you only have now 20, that's another 6 countries that will not qualify, meaning an additional 6 non-qualifiers, therefore 6 upset delegation, and you will increase the chance of people withdrawing if they cannot even if it becomes so hard to qualify. So you want to have the number of countries in the final where it's still digestible, but still gives everyone a chance, or like a higher chance of actually being there in the end. It's a good question. It's a good point to raise, but it's just, I think it would be more opening a can of worms there. Um, so give me 1 second here. I'm just clicking on something else. Okay, got it. Forgive me, I'm jumping back and forth. So yeah, something to revisit the juries over the next few weeks and months and see, if there's going to be change, or if the EBU just completely just ignores it. I don't know. I don't know. Keep in mind, viewers like us, the fan media, or even the mainstream media, they are one source of input. The EBU will get input from the delegations, and they take that to heart. And the more powerful you are as delegation, the more say you'll have. And that is one of the reasons, also probably why the way they wanted to do the semifinal announcement changed, because there were a lot of delegations and artists that pushed back, and that is what it took, along with the fans and everybody else as well. So it is very important to take that into consideration as well. Um, Juries loved Chanel last year and surprised. Meanwhile, the public thought Trinity was better, and this year ranked Spain last. So yeah, let's never return to Televote only. I know, right? Um, I mean, I love Trinity. I would have loved for them to be that high, but at the same time, yeah, I don't want to get rid of the juries. I think I've been very clear about that. The Croatian HOD said, I believe that there is one Baltic Scandinavian circle that is clearly influential and strong. I'm not the only head of Eurovision delegation who thinks so. I rest my case. I will not say names, but I know of other delegations as well who feel the same way. And it's not just the Nordic, but there are other delegations that are part of the power panel as well. So yeah, and that is the issue. That's why I keep speaking up. Thank you again. Oh, Hannah, thank you for the super chat. Where Norway not great in the jury performance, amazed she didn't do better with the juries. Almost kind of take second. She got a rougher deal than Finland. It was a worse performance. It was a worse performance. I'll give you that. I don't know if she would have done much better if she's done better, but she was off vocally a little bit. A lot of people said it sounded actually quite all right in my headset when I listened to it, but a lot of people said she was terrible. So I cannot, if it was not just a one-off, a lot of people felt that. So it seems that way, that she was off. But she sounded good in my headset, but the consensus were, yeah, that was an off night for her. And I'm sure it didn't help her, unfortunately. But yeah, she got kind of a little bit, to a lesser extent. But yeah, fifth, and yet she still did better, because she got a fifth place, kind of got only 6, right? 7, 6? I don't remember. 6 or 7. So another thing I wanted to address real quick, and keep in mind, I'll answer as many questions as possible. I just want to, because that went a little viral on Twitter, which viral sounds dramatic, not that viral, but I got like hundreds of people talking about it, and I was like, okay, relax, sit down, calm down. But I just wanted to point out how relevant the running order is, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. The papers and the documents are at home in America. I'll be there in a few days. um, but basically, another year, more evidence of how important the running order can be in terms of results with the televoters. With the televoters only, it has much less impact on the juries. And I'm not just saying that based on my own personal opinion. It's by numbers. I ran the numbers on several occasions. It's certainly, just when you look at averages over the last 10, 15 years, or even longer, but especially with the televote, since we had the breakout, it is so clear, and that this is kind of where it lands. The earlier you're in the running order, the less likely for you to repeat, get good results or repeat the televote results that you've had in the semis. And we all talk about Austria this year. You can even make a little case for Portugal to a lesser extent, but Austria came second in the televote in the semis and then got 16 votes in the finals um, from the televoters. And you can say, well, different people, and the people always make excuses or come up with reasonings. That different people voting, oh, that didn't sound so good, or this song took all the points and all that stuff. Sure. All right. That's with Austria then. If that's what you believe, that's fine. Then what about happened to Czech Republic last year? Same thing happened to them. Are we going to use the same excuses? What about Malta in 2021? Same thing. There's so many other examples. Israel 2017. Belgium 2016. The list goes on and on. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm just giving you like so many examples where when a song performs early in the grand finals, your odds of doing well with the televote significantly decreases. And some people are saying, well, there was a song like Russia 2021 where she still come in the top, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying you cannot completely discount it, but your odds are going down tremendously. And that is just a reality. And that is why I have been more and more vocal about my concerns about the producer driven running order, because even with their best intentions that they're putting out there, I do feel as it feels unfair because certain countries almost always get a more favorable running order, ninth to 13th or something like that. We're specifically talking about the first half because that's where, the issue lies in the grand final, while others frequently get the less desirable running orders. And that's often based on who are currently the betting odds favorites, who has expensive props that we may have to put after a break. Therefore, all the cheap performances who don't have anything crazy, they can go early. There's so many different things and thoughts that go into this, and it just feels unfair to me. And it's becoming more and more evident how much of an impact it can have, which I've been saying the producer driven running order seems more and more unfair, at least in particular for the first half, because the numbers just don't lie. Should we consider getting rid of it and just have it a random draw like we had it until 2012? Or are there other options to do this? Or is this okay, just the way it is? Let me actually bring that up here. I had that. I posted a question earlier on Twitter. It was a poll, and it's a scientific poll because it's on Twitter, y'all. So it's absolutely legit. But now there were a lot of hundreds of people voted in it. I asked, how should the running order be determined going forward? And whatever the poll says, that's what the EBU will do. I'm pretty sure. I'm kidding, obviously. I asked, just should be completely random, just like it was 2012 and before? Should it be like in buckets, in groups, for instance, in quarters? So from 1 to 8, well, that's thirds. But you know what I mean, 1 to 6, 6 to 12, that kind of stuff. Some should we do that or in groups of fives? So that way you still get drawn into a specific part of the show, but still allows the producers to have some wiggle room to help with props or whatever. But it does not seem as unfair between first and 13th. Difference of day and night often. Should they stick with the 1 to second half, right? That what we have right now, or should we just say completely gone? Like the producer should be able to select, decide the running order from first to 26, not even halves. They can put whoever they want in first, whoever they want in last. So I put that up, and 40%, so definitely a plurality, said they would love to see the group thing. Like either quarters or in group of fives. That would be the most fair thing, because then at least that's just the luck of the draw, and then the producers still have the room to do some changes to help with the running order in case of too many ballots or there's a prop or something like that. This gives them still some room to do stuff. That was 40%, and 35%, they actually say that it should be completely random. So we're talking about 75% either want groups or it completely random. That's a pretty big number. And then 16% said leave it as is, and then 10% said the producer should completely take over that. So that is something I put out. to see how people felt that. And I like the idea, as said, having them in buckets and groups. That gives them still more wiggle room to work with, and at least it doesn't feel as unfair, because once again, the same countries often, there's some changes, some but seem to get a better running order every single year. And let's not just talk about Sweden. We're not even talking just about Sweden. There are plenty of other countries. It's Netherlands, Australia, even Germany, I will say. Certain countries get more, often favorable running orders, while countries like Albania oftentimes just get lost. Czech Republic got it the worst. Czech Republic either performs first, second, or third in the show, or 14th if they go second half. They've never gotten anything past number 14, even though they have multiple um, second halves, and they never performed, I think, after position 3 if they were drawn to first half, if I'm not mistaken. So that is just a lot. I would be really, really upset about that as well. So that is just something that I think needs to be addressed as well. And somebody's saying, well, it doesn't matter. It does matter. One time that your song that you really love, your whatever, like, would have you been okay with Sweden or Finland going first or second and then lose points? I'm like, well, that's just a decision that they made. You would have been outraged. You would have been upset. And I think just because some of the songs that end up early are not as Eurovision bubble friendly, we should not just throw them to the wolves. So it's all about fairness, because it is still a competition, and I'm fighting so hard to speak out against this X factorization of the show. Right? We're not just talking about the results situation in the semis, but how the producers decide who should get the best running order. We have in pre-recorded vocals, and we push certain artists more. Now it just becomes very, very convoluted and very unfair. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat as well. I talked enough, but how do you feel about that? Do you at least understand where I'm coming from? This is not about Sweden. It's not about Finland. It's not about anyone. I've been saying this for years. And this is just this year another example where I feel this is just not fair. And fairness in a competition is of uttermost importance to me at ESC United. Let me know. I agree, but I also think a good opener and closing song is important too. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you have 5 or 6 songs to choose from, you at least have that option. You're saying maybe then some people are saying, well, what if you get 6 ballots in the first half? Then that is highly unlikely. But even then you get. It's also unfair that a ballot should never be allowed to open. Do you know what I mean? Or a ballot always has to come second and third. It's also just a little silly. The whole thing was they didn't want to have another Engelbert Humperdinck. I can't remember his name. Engelbert Humperdinck, yes. His name is just not catchy. Kind of situation, or you or Neuro. I get that. You could prevent that maybe with having buckets. That's what I'm saying. I share concerns about the corporatization of the competition. I believe the contest is becoming less financially viable, so it'll become more corporate to compensate. Well, exactly. And I'm not sure if you paid attention to the press conference with the EBU a few days ago. They always have one once a year during the Eurovision week. The question was asked about, closing the press center early and all of these other things. And they're like, well, we need to save money and we have to make sure inflation, and there's so many homeless people. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just a little weird, the reasoning that they're trying to use for that. But it's really just to keep a close a lot of control over the artist and what can and cannot be shown. So they have the power to, control the narrative. Sometimes it feels like it. And then they use as well, we need to protect the artist, when we clearly see that's not the case all the time. So, but that's just even in beyond that is, yes, all the things that I've mentioned, it just feels really the artist becoming more and more just props. Like what they were doing, like, okay, we put them all on stage, and then as soon as the 10 qualifiers are known, the non-qualifiers get pushed off the stage. Like what they do Melody Festivalen. They're like, you see the stage, okay, okay, I don't know, daughter, get off now. You off, shush. It's just very dehumanizing, especially in a competition that's all about celebrating diversity and culture from different countries. This is not, it's a competition. It's a contest. We all get that. But then it needs to be fair and they need to be treated accordingly. You wouldn't do that to the Olympic Games in the Olympic Games. Um, I heard also that the BBC simply had a lack of personal material because of the coronation. No, that is not true. This was not a decision made by the BBC. It was a decision made by the EBU. So the BBC was not involved in that even. Imagine if they did the MGP way. That would be brutal. Oh, I know, right? Oh, that would have been even worse. In case you know what they're talking about is, I don't know their names, but let's just say, okay, let's talk to you, the busker from Malta. They zoom in really close to the face. You are not moving on. And then you can see their sad faces and laugh at them. That's basically what they did. And it was just like, ugh, I hope they're not gonna do that next year. Did they say they're gonna get rid of it by that all, by the way? I would love for that to go away. What do you think? Ooh, what do you think about Finland's chances in the next 5 years after this? I mean, it's hard to say, but they have been on the right track for quite some time. I was just actually talking to one of my colleagues earlier. Let me see if I can find that message. Hold on one second, because th- I don't have it right now. But basically, what they were saying was the people in Finland delegation to us is that they brought someone in. Was it a DJ or some kind of expert who really created this UMK that we've known since 2020 and really gave Finland the rebirth. So that is what they need. And as long as they stick to that, I think we can see Finland continue the trend of sending fantastic music as long as they do not lose their way. And there will be a time, I'm just preparing you now mentally, that they will flop. Every country flops every once in a while. Even if you're really, really good, there will come a time when you flop. There will come a day, one day, I don't know when, but one day when Ukraine will not qualify from the semis. So that's what people need to take into consideration as well. But I have every reason to believe that you are on a consistent track to success if you keep it up. That's my thinking, at least. ES United, do we have any information on which countries voted in the rest of the world votes? Not since the last time I have checked. Um, don't expect much information come from that either. We don't get much information even from Junior Eurovision. When they do the online vote, they'll just tell us overall 175 votes from 175 different countries were received, and that's all we get. We don't know if 170 votes come from Germany and then 5 from the rest of the world. I'm just being very dramatic here. We just don't know what exactly where they come from. They just give us the numbers, so I do not anticipate any major to transparency either. And I know what people will say already. I saw it already online. Saw it happening. Um, the Jewish people voting for Israel. That is the first sentiment that I saw by so many people. It's like, come on, Israel did what? They were fourth in the televote, anyways. Come on. If there's a pattern, then we can talk about. But one year, don't do that. Don't. Oh, don't. Let's not go there, girlfriend. Um, do you feel Karya is just generations Verka? Were you with me earlier? I said the exact same thing. It's a little creepy. Maybe I'm not the only one. Um, he had Cha 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 for many years to come. He's got it made for as long as he wants to sing the I was saying the same thing. I was like, I get a little bit of Verka vibes here. Not the same song, but just I think he's gonna be part of the Eurovision community for years to come. It'll be that party song that everybody loves, and yeah, that's exactly the same thing I was thinking. So it's funny that you said that. I agree with you, Matt. Israel was third, LOL. The rest of the world just loved it. Exactly. It's like, can we not do that every single time? Jeepers. Jesus. I mean, Jesus. That was no pun intended there. Yeah, so no, it was just so annoying. That's why I wanted to say that as well. Don't listen to the haters, because the haters gonna hate, 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 hate. And the fake is gonna fake, 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 fake. So I'm just gonna Drink, drink, drink. Drink it up. Drink it up. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Not sure you got into my earlier super chat question. So we're posting. If I didn't, I apologize, Alan. I can go back. I would like to see the People's Choice Award for the televote winner. What are your thoughts? I did miss that, so let me go back to all my super chats. It's hard to see that while I'm out here without my tools. I like the idea, but if for the most part, more often than not, the televote winner becomes the winner. Let's go back since 2014, right? Because that's when we had that new system. Conchita won the televote. Ilvola would have gotten the People's Choice Award. Sergei Lazarev would have gotten the People's Choice Award. Where else was a discrepancy in 2019 and in 2023? So we would have 4 People's Choice Awards, right? So I don't mind doing that. I just don't know if it really means that much because they know that already. I mean, just them knowing that they won the televote, isn't that enough? It's not like, I like the idea, but I don't know if it really changes much. Igor is saying, by the way, thank you for the super chat. Switzerland's televoters gave 12 points to Albania. Nobody really wants to get back to diaspora having such an influence. Exactly. That is my fear as well. And I feel as since we have the juries, it actually has gone down a little. I'm just worried that if we don't, then it'll go back to where it was before. It still exists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it has got. I mean, one thing that completely shocked me: Serbia, 16 points in the televote. They usually have a lot of support. I understand North Macedonia, Montenegro, they're not in. Still, Croatia, Slovenia, Switzerland, all these countries, they give them at least 10 points. And that was a big surprise for me that they didn't do that. So, but still, yeah, there's still quite a bit. Also, juries vote the day before. Both tele and juries should be on the same performance. We didn't see the jury night, so how can we judge them? It's true, only the juries and the people in the arena get to see that. It's going to be logistically very, very difficult because you have, depending on the year, let's say 40 different juries and 5 people on each jury. Gathering those takes a long time. You will not have that ready in time for the show. And then they need to be checked and approved and validated and all of that stuff. So it's a little bit more tricky than that. I hear, and on paper, I would like it, but I understand why this is not necessarily the most feasible thing to do. But once again, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. Let's jump back here to the actual chat and see if there are any more questions. As always, at ESC United, they should at least release the jury performances online afterwards for transparency. I love that idea. I really love that idea. Sign me up. Because, yeah, I can give you everything, the information of a live stream, but there's nothing like actually seeing it. At the same time, it's not going to make a difference, because they vote how they vote, the juries, but it would be nice for context, especially when it comes to Norway, who didn't have her best performance. To be fair, even Sweden didn't have her best performance in the jury show, yet she landslided that one. So it's just very interesting to I would love for people to see that, because then also us here in the press, we don't get accused always of favoritism when we point out something more constructive than just positive. It's always tricky. Do you think anyone will withdraw next year? I was actually talking to my team about that. Was it yesterday, the day before? I was worried about Georgia potentially, but they talked me out of that. Other than that, I feel confident that everyone that's in right now will return. I don't see anyone withdrawing. No, I'm going for them right now. Czechia is now in with the top 10 result. I was worried about them. Poland qualified. They're good to go. Yeah, I think they'll be all back. I feel pretty good about that. I see more new countries joining. We know about Luxembourg already, hoping for a North Macedonia return. And I don't know what is. By the way, I do know. I checked earlier, but then we saw the live stream. There is an election in Turkey right today, and I was always curious how this will pan out because people they even said the leadership that is running against Erdogan that they would return to the contest, and we should not just make this election about Eurovision because there are really important things at stake here. But I was curious to see where the results are now. Um, I don't know what's going on. Oh, well, he won the Turkish election? Rece- No, what is going on? No, I don't know. There's so many different information out there. I don't even know what is going on there right now. Oh, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we will see. Maybe another runoff. This was from 3 minutes ago. Anka News says Erdogan got 49.02. His opponent 45.2. Oh, but they have 94 of the percent of the votes in. So he did win, but didn't get the 50%. Ha! Interesting. I was hoping this. I know that there is another candidate who got like over 5%, but man, I don't even look. It makes me upset. So we don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out more tomorrow. Anyway, this year showed that ending up on the right hand side doesn't mean anything. Armenia, Austria, France, Spain, Portugal, Serbia. I'm not sure what you mean. It doesn't mean anything. It means that they didn't do as well, or it's not important because these songs are awesome and should have done better. Feel free to elaborate on that. Anyways, so I talked about the running order. One good thing, I mean, I'm not sure if you paid attention. It seems as this Eurovision was a success, not just from a hosting perspective. Liverpool, the BBC have done such an amazing job. It was quite impressive. Um, I loved my every moment there. It was the most inclusive and involved city that I've ever experienced, and I just had a lot of fun. Um, Now, the good news is I'm talking about is it seems as the viewing figures were really, really high this year. It was really high in Germany, I know for sure, and it was the highest in Finland since 2007 because big hype. Other countries had pretty good viewing figures as well. So from what I'm hearing, it was the most watched Eurovision of all time. So keeping our contest alive for a little longer, that makes me very, very happy. Now, some countries have less than others, because if you're not qualifying, you're gonna have less viewing figures, none of that stuff. We get that. But it is certainly very encouraging. Of course, I'm worried about Germany because they were so excited about this entry and so many people watched, and then came last again. There will be probably a lot of, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to watch this. We're always going to come last. So I don't feel like that they have the same kind of numbers next year. Thank you, by the way, JD, for your super chat. Should they put a limit on what prop staging extras are allowed to make running orders fair, or is it too hard to police? Great coverage all week, by the way. Thank you, JD. Should they police it? No, I would say no, but there's a big but here. I don't think that they should get special treatment because of that. It's like, hey, you have that prop, you have the same amount of time, those 45 seconds or whatever it is, to set this up. If it takes longer, touche. If it's maybe like a 10-second thing and they can stall some time, maybe. But not, I was like, well, yours is so complicated. You get the special spot at the end or after a break or whatever it may be. That is, I don't like that because again, it disadvantages the countries that don't have money, don't have the budget. I'm looking at Lithuania, I'm looking at Albania, I'm looking at Portugal right now. They said they had no money. So they get penalized all the time frequently because they don't have the props to excuse a more a nicer running order. So that is certainly something I would prefer. But yeah, if you have props, I would not want to discourage it. I do not want to take that away from them. At the same time, the special treatment is what bothers me more than anything. Most people will probably be disappointed by this, but Petra will probably not host next year because she has back problems and has had to cancel hosting shows in Sweden. Very good point you bring up, Kentucky, because I was actually going to talk about that next. Um, Sweden 2024. Of course. The host stuff is who's going to host Eurovision? Of course, should we even talk about because it's been less than 24 hours since the winner was crowned. But everyone was talking about Petra Mede. I talked on Twitter actually about it. I don't want it to return, and that's coming from a place of love because I love the heck out of her. And but it's time to pass the baton to somebody else. She's done it twice, and that's enough. I want to see other people from Sweden get a chance at this amazing experience. Plus, also, Petra is now working for a different network. She's no longer with SVT, so it would make that whole thing a whole lot more difficult, anyways, for her. We need to take that into account as well. So I don't necessarily want Petra because I don't dislike her or anything. It's the opposite. I think her line, "Grab a towel, let's come together," is the funniest thing I've ever heard at Eurovision. So love her to death. But I just think we want somebody else. Oh, real quick, there's another super chat from Groupie. Thank you so much. They should have 4 halves instead of 2 for for Runord? Oh, for the running order. Got it. No, that's exactly what I said earlier. I like that. These quarters or, groups of 5. So I absolutely agree with that. And I'm hoping they're going to take that into account. But if anything, the EBU ones have more control, not less control. So I know that this is kind of the way. But if we keep pushing, the delegations need to push as well. That's where the power lies. So just know we have your back, delegations. Do you think that people will still be sour about the results this year, that there's a dip in viewing figures next year, or will the public memory fade? So I don't know. People have short-term memories and people are emotional. We all are. So we'll get over it in a few days and we'll watch it anyways. But the casual viewer, I don't know. It's hard to say. It'll probably drop off in Finland. It'll probably drop off in Germany and some other countries. They need to have, it sucks, but it's a reality. But in terms of like overall, I don't know. I mean, the average viewer doesn't care that much. They just watch it once a year to have fun, and then they move on with the ugh. They're gonna say, "Ugh, Sweden won, whatever. Don't care." Or they're like, "Oh, thank God Finland didn't win," and then they move on with their lives. So I'm always of the idea that part in itself does not matter as much. It's really more about your country's consistent success. And that's why I'm more worried about like Germany and some other countries. Hopefully, UK has still like a 4 to 5 year window of excitement because even though they flopped this year, they're still going to have the Sam Ryder effect for a little while. So, yeah. Do you think Stockholm will be the host city? So that's what my next thing. Are we going back to Stockholm or elsewhere? People are saying that I've heard people, some people are saying those who have a little bit more knowledge from behind the scenes stuff that the arena in Gothenburg, which on paper would be next in line, right? Because we've done Malmö, then Stockholm, then usually go to Gothenburg, that arena is not suitable for Eurovision, the roof. So that would take that city out unless they come up with something else. And maybe there will be another random city. Who knows? Who knows? Stockholm obviously would be the most obvious one, but they have to take bids. So right now, I'm thinking it's going to be elsewhere. I think Sweden would want to try something different. Sweden is not necessarily the one when it comes to Eurovision to just play it safe or just do what we did last time. They'll come up with something different. So my guess is it's going to be outside of Sweden. Outside of Sweden, that would be weird. Outside of Stockholm. Loreen's grand final performance on YouTube has the biggest dislike to like ratio in Eurovision history. I really hope the jury system changes. I've never seen the public so disappointed. By the way, real quick, before I answer that, we just need to have Netta tell us which city will not host. If she says Stockholm, we know it's not going to be there. So she does it every year, right? So she's going to mess it up this time around. We love her for it. Don't ever change, Netta. You're my queen. Now to your question, it saddens me. It really saddens me. You should not dislike a video just because you don't agree with the video, with the results. It seems petty and it just seems unfair. In the end, it doesn't really matter. Dislike a video. So what does it do? Nothing. Nothing at all. If that's why you put your anger, and if it helps you, sure, do it, whatever. But it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So I find it silly. I'm more worried about people like attacking people verbally and all of that stuff and really bullying people and just being nasty. and that is my biggest concern online. So it really has taken a turn for the worse this year, and it upsets me because it really makes the community seem toxic, and I'm exactly trying to do the opposite. And it's just unfortunate. I hate that. I really hate it. So yeah, but no, I see what's happening. I'm not blind. I was on a bus for a few hours. I didn't see everything, but I'm fully aware of what's going on. But as I said, I think there will be some of this going away. I remember it wasn't to the same extent last year, because but there was so much negativity about Kalush Orchestra because the war and it's political and blah blah blah. But now people have kind of like, it's fine, whatever. And I think it's going to go down a similar route, except some bitter people, but they'll get over it as well. Thank you so much, groupies. Sweden 14 number one in iTunes, and Finland is 3. Okay, so I saw actually earlier that we also had all 3 Nordic countries, including Queen of Kings, Norway, charting as well, which is a great success. So I'm really glad that all these songs are doing well in the charts. They're all very chart friendly, I guess. Well, Finland on paper is maybe not that chart friendly, but it's certainly something that I really, really enjoy. And it's glad we see success. I've never seen such an insufferable situation kind of ruining the experience. Alicia's, yeah, it's a little annoying, but I would say just hold on. Just hold on. Things will get better. It sounds like it gets better campaign, but you know what I'm saying with that. People will calm down, and yes, we get always the naggy ones on both sides. It's just kind of thing. But you need to, when I've been doing this for years now, and I got plenty of, negativity thrown at me, and you just kind of just let it go. For instance, on Twitter, the mute button has become my best friend. I highly encourage it. So, just focus on the good. Hang out with people, talk to people that are like-minded, and just appreciate what Eurovision is and the spirit about it, and ignore the noise. That's what I've been doing. I know it's not always easy, but that's how I do it. Excuse me. So, forgive me, my system's really. So I'm not saying they should add this, but what would you say if the EBU added a super final with 100% televoting like Eesti Laul? Mm, I'm thinking. Okay, I'm trying to think about Eesti Laul. So Eesti Laul puts the top 3 up for an extra vote. I don't think that's necessary. No, I mean, it becomes more I like the idea in Eesti Laul. I don't even like the idea in Eesti Laul, actually, because it seems kind of unnecessary, because whoever wins the televote anyways in the first round usually wins the super final anyways. It's highly unlikely that if you get 12 points from the televote in Eesti Laul in the first round, you are most likely, and things are really upside down, that you will be in the top 3 anyways, and then you get the 12 points again. So it seems unnecessary to me. Now, here you can make the case, let's just say it happened here, and then what is it? Sweden, Finland, and Israel would have been then up for a vote again. But then we all know at that point, because we already saw that Finland won the televote, that he would win then that revote. And it just serves like this reason. Like, I'm just one. Then why have the juries? You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons why we have juries. So it kind of kills the purpose. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's necessary. I guess a positive takeaway on this entire drama is that Eurovision is alive and throughout the continent, and it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Glass half full, my friend. Absolutely. That is exactly how I feel. At least we are still talking about it. People still feel passionate about it. I said that earlier. I'll stop doing Eurovision when I no longer get nervous or excited about things, and it becomes just a meh thing. And as long as that is alive, I think that is exactly what we should strive for. And I know it sucks, negativity online, but ignore the noise. That's what I do, and you'll be so much better off. Walk away from the computer, even, because when you're out in the world, nobody really cares. You get like some snarky comments from people. Oh, it's all political, blah, 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 but it doesn't come from a place of knowledge or understanding. So I would not worry about it too much, if I were you, at least. Let me get rid of this comment here. There you go. Keep in mind, even though Eurovision season is over in terms of the actual event, ESC United doesn't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Well, I'm going home, but you could get what I'm saying. Unlike what you know, the EBU and Eurovision.tv gets quiet. We will do Eurovision throughout the year, and of course, Junior as we approach it. We're going to be on site as well for all of that. So I really hope that you guys stick around as much as possible. I know that some people need a break from Eurovision, but still tune in every once in a while here because we'll put up videos. We're going to have live streams. We're going to keep going throughout the year and have fun like we always do. And because 24 already information coming in, and there's still a lot to analyze. There will be information coming in from last year, from this year, and see what's going on. So I hope you are going to be here. When are you leaving for the US again? Tomorrow morning, or like midday. My flights is at like 12:30 or something like that tomorrow. So and I'm staying literally in the airport. I mean, it's a hotel in the airport. So I'll just walk out and I'm right by the departure gate. So yeah, I'll just leave you like it's 10 or even later than that, 10:30 maybe, and go down and leave. And then 8 hours later, I'll be in New York. I'm going to spend a couple of days in New York, and then I'm going back to LA. In case you wanted to know, I'm probably oversharing here. Early prediction for next year, Greenwich is asking. Oh God, Finland wins. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to give you anything in terms of like winning and results and stuff, because how the hell would I know? But I do predict we'll have more countries return. I think we'll have more participants in 24 than we had in 23. I'm hoping for a North Macedonia return. Clearly, we're going to get Luxembourg back, which is so exciting. That alone would have bring us to 39. Bulgaria will not be back. They did another snarky comment online that we're no longer taking part by. They're being really bitchy. And then Montenegro, I don't know what's going to happen with them. And maybe there's still a slight chance that Turkey returns. I don't know. But regardless, I do think we'll have more countries than before on there. Has Gabe calmed down? He was really upset last night, and he was emotional tweeting. He was drunk tweeting too. So keep that in mind. Hang on, I got it with my foot again. Ow, 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 ow. I think, yeah, we talked earlier. He is fine. He's still bummed out, but he needs to get over it. That's what I'm telling you. You need to be less, I wouldn't say less emotional, just accept it. It doesn't always go your way, and it sucks. And I don't agree with some decisions either myself, but that's life. That's life. You cannot just dwell on it, right? But now he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's just a firecracker at times when it comes to that. I can be too at times, but now I'm more measured, I think. Like that. Oh gosh. My favorite thing about this year is the friendships and the wholesome interaction between the artists. That is the most important thing, because I was just thinking earlier, you had that picture of Loreen and Karya just hugging each other, and Karya doing that Euphoria impersonation thing with his crates and all that stuff. And while everyone else is arguing here about this is the best song, you suck, no, you suck more, well, you're the suckiest. We have this video of all the artists doing a conga line to I Wrote a Song Last Night, and they're having fun. And that's just all we need to remember. We're here fighting while they're enjoying themselves, and you should just do the same. You cannot control everything. But that is exactly how I feel about it as well. So I do not blame you. But it's sometimes good to remember that. What will happen with Australia? Somebody's asking. They'll be back. Don't even think for a second that they will withdraw. In case people are wondering why we're asking, I have to bring it up every single time. As we all know, Australia is not a full member of the EBU. They are an associate member. So when you're not a full member, you have to get a special invitation from the EBU to take part, which Australia was given every single year. Like in 2015, they got one. In 2016, they got one. In 2017, they got one for a year. And then one year, I don't know if it was 2018 or 19, they gave them like a invitation that lasts 4 years, I think. So they don't have to renew it every year. That is running out in 23. So a lot of people are saying, well, the invitation has now expired. Therefore, they can no longer take part. They'll be back. They get another yearly invitation, or they're going to give them another 4 or 5 year invitation. So Don't worry about it. They will not let them go, especially with the number of countries that currently are taking part. We don't have Russia anymore. We don't have Belarus anymore. There's a lot of money that's not coming in, and Australia is bringing in a lot of money. Let's be real about that. Um, and I say that all the time, so I'm glad you're bringing that up, Oliver. Also, a good reminder that you loved the artist. Please support them post Eurovision. Follow them on their social media and follow their music. That is what they were living for. And that's one of the things we were so upset about, that there was this limited opportunity to do promotion, because they want to promote themselves, because Eurovision does come to an end at some point. So hopefully you follow your favorites, whether it's Monica from Lithuania or Let Three from Croatia, if it's Sudden Lights from Latvia, whoever it may be. Make sure you stick around for them, because they will be releasing awesome music and they need your support, because especially coming from smaller countries, you know, they were lived in the UK or US, they had a whole different market available to them, but they don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So I want to point that out as well. A question also that I found interesting: do you think Ireland will start to send better songs now that Sweden has tied for wins? So I was talking to an Irish person yesterday about that, actually. Now that they're tied, because they were always resting on that comfort of being the country with the most wins. Now they're tied with that one and potentially lose that title. They believe this is something that they needs a kick in the butt. From what I saw, though, I felt like just after the non-qualification, they felt that something is changing in the country. The attitude from people, and they no longer will take that shit from the broadcaster and that lackluster approach. I'm not holding my breath, but it seems like there is some changes in attitude in Ireland, and maybe I'm hopeful could be the rebirth of Ireland at Eurovision, like the kick that they needed to do better. There is talk. Now we have to see if there will be the walk as well. Where do you live, Matt? Somebody's asking. I live in LA area, Los Angeles, California. It's a long way there. I'm not even halfway there. I'm only in London right now, but I'm gonna leave tomorrow. So, yeah, is there a possibility that Bosnia Herzegovina comes back like in 2016? Maybe Sweden funding them. It's not. That's not how it works, actually. Sweden will not fund them. It would be nice, but it's less about just they cannot even take part until they paid off all the debt that they owe to the EBU. And from what I hear, it's quite substantial. So unless the EBU makes some exception, they're either going to be out or they have to pay off whatever's left there. So the odds of Bosnia returning next year are slim, but I would not say impossible. Again, they could make an exception, the EBU, but I don't see it happening because, they're not doing it right now. They are not doing it right now. So this was a great conversation. I just wanted to check in with you all for a little bit before I head out. So much to talk about. I'll be back definitely this weekend, this upcoming weekend, to do the week, 1 week later live stream. And because a lot will happen over the next week in terms of even hosting next year's, but also artists speaking out and what has happened, and just we're gonna another deep dive. So make sure to subscribe to the channel here, and to see when the next live stream will go up, and of course videos throughout the year. Thanks again, everyone, and I will see you all. And thank you for your support, by the way. There's a super chat or just liking the video. It really, really, really helps us. So have a good night, everyone. Okay, bye bye.